I can hear seagulls in the background on Nicky's camera, which is brilliant, which means he may be or maybe not near the sea, because seagulls get everywhere these days. But we'll be talking live to Nicky in a moment. Welcome to my music, Nicky. First, though, let's watch the video from Analog Trash. Please do enjoy the video, and if you like it, go and check it out. How are you doing, Nicky? Where are you coming from today?
I'm in Lipp, which is a part of Edinburgh.
Oh, it's a lovely part of Edinburgh. I know it well.
Yeah, it's class. So I'm down. I'm literally, like you said, right next to the shore. So all the seagulls are out in force at the moment.
Fantastic. Now, listen, we're going to talk music and your background and history and all of those things in a minute. But first of all, I want to get your opinion on modern day merchandise for groups and bands. I got sent this yesterday. Here we are. Look, Christine and the Queens tea towels.
Tea towel. I used to make. I've got one like that I made at primary school.
Yeah, my kids come home with them all the time. Really expensive these days.
Yeah, it is. Well, I mean, you have to get creative merch-wise, because generally merch and live is pretty much your only income source. So it's like that's why there's the whole range of merch these days, I think, which I quite enjoy. I love clothes, so going from...
I think it is. I think it's brilliant to get creative with merchandise. I went to see Lowe's at the weekend, and they've made all of their merchandise, and they went out to charity shops. They bought t-shirts, and then they've sewn their logo onto them.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Again, that's cutting out a massive amount of cost for merch as well. It's mad.
Yeah.
But
So when did you first start getting into music?
Definitely when I was younger. Like, I was always more into like football, to be honest. And then when I got to a certain age, it kind of crossed over the whole music, football, clothes.
What, you used to go onto the pitch and sing at the opposition?
Yeah, exactly. Like, and everyone's singing Oasis and the bus on the way, or when you win and stuff. So I don't know. It was just like and I was a lot younger than when all of that happened. So it was almost like look back on it rather than actually be there at the time. So it was more of a kind of like, have you heard this? Have you seen this? And then someone's dad at school would be into music, and then my mate would bring in the CD, and that's kind of how I got into it. It was like, listen, so his dad was the trusted kind of like he was the carrier of taste at that point. So it was like, if he brought a CD in for us to pass around and share, then it would be like, yes, this is a good band sort of thing. So that was just stuff like that.
Did those two worlds meet okay? Because sometimes, especially growing up a boy, etc., playing, if you play sport or play, especially things like football or rugby or whatever, kind of being in, kind of saying that you like listening to music is okay, but
doing it is a very different thing. Yeah. So the only people, like, I mean, I don't know if subcultures exist as much anymore, because of the internet, everything's kind of amalgamated into one. Whereas when I was younger, there was still very much a direct distance between the groups of people at school, depending on what they were into, what they liked. So you had the metalheads, or you had the kind of like slightly posher people that would carry around their violins and stuff, and then you maybe had skater people, and then and there wasn't anybody in my group who actually played music, because exactly like you said, it was like they're the music sort of people. They're the ones that are in music class. So to be honest, I didn't pick up a guitar or start learning until I'd left school. So it was very much, I was in on it on the culture side of it, but not in the actual making music. That felt like a very far off, distant thing away from me. That's something that I wouldn't be able to do. I can't do that. It's too difficult.
But secretly in your head, you were there was a yearning there to perhaps inhabit that world.
Yeah, for sure, 100%. Yeah.
So you mentioned Oasis earlier. Did you gravitate towards bands like that then, had that kind of male call at the same time as?
Yeah, I think I think even till this day, right, there's something, and I know that they're Marmite for most people, and to be honest, I don't think most people understand them as people either, but they're from the same kind of place as me, and they had the same opportunity put out in front of them, which was pretty much nothing. It was like, go play football, sign on, or go get a trade. Like that was your option. So there's very much this kind of sentiment to, they're kind of the last of that kind of magical ability to do that or make something happen out of nothing, and everybody wanted to be them, and everybody wanted to, like, the girls wanted to be with them and the boys wanted to be them. And I think they still represent that to this day for a younger generation, because we see it with Liam going to Nebworth and doing Nebworth again, and then all these younger kids, some of them will probably be grandkids to the older guys that were around in the first place. And so I think like they represent of like you're just the same as me and you did it, so they inspired pretty much. And I think that's what they did for me. And I stuck around in that little space for a while, but I wasn't there for a long time. Like my music taste now and my kind of like maturity of life, because I'm a little bit older now than just a teenager. It's like I see them as people, and I kind of see them as a kind of like, the reason he's great is because they're just themselves, and I really love people that are just themselves. Like that's my favorite thing. There's no BS about it, and I think that kind of goes a long way to this day. And
they definitely say it as it is.
Yeah, exactly. And that was the beginning for me to kind of be. And it's interesting now because you're in a world where the Nepo baby has been like talked about recently, and you've obviously got bands like Inhaler, who's obviously Bono's son, and you've got Matty Healy, who comes from a pretty privileged background. There's not much out there from people where I'm from. I think in Scotland maybe you've got Jerry Cinnamon or the Snuts, but talking like massive mainstream industry, like it's shut off really, and I'm all for, like, of course Bono's son's going to be into music. Of course he is.
Yeah. And of course he's going to get opportunities.
Yeah, and of course he's going to get opportunities. But I do honestly think like listening to that, like it's a great little band or whatever, but like the stuff they get and the backing that they've got is just
it's very difficult. It's very difficult for other people.
The standard of the tunes. Yeah.
I should introduce you to Becca James. I don't know whether you've already come across Becca James, but she was on here a few weeks back. And, she was talking about that, and I know she wants to do work around that because she doesn't come from a well-off background, and she was talking about there still is a massive sort of class divide when it comes to music and getting on.
Massively.
And people need to, something needs to be done about it, really.
Because I mean, the problem as well is the reason that these people have even had the opportunity to sit around and write tunes is because they don't have the pressures of life on them that they've got their own pressures. They absolutely do. I have no idea what it's like to be Bono's son. Don't get me wrong, like, and nobody else does either. But they don't have those like
they don't have the pressure of, am I going to be able to eat today?
Yes, yeah, and put a roof over my head
and
work,
put a roof over my head, and therefore,
when am I going to write music? How do I pay for a rehearsal room?
Yeah.
How do I pay for equipment? How do I pay for travel to get places? How do I pay for a studio? How do I pay for a PR agent? How do I pay for a radio plugger? How do I pay for all the online ads that you need to do for anybody to see your stuff? Like, the list goes on, and hence that goes back to bands going out to charity shops, making their own T-shirts, because the margin of finance that they need to believe in what they're doing and ultimately to put it out into the world as a creative is that's where it's at right now for that lower level artist.
I totally see the need in that, and it's one of the reasons why I'm starting a community of music artists who can then be a mastermind to each other and help each other out, because I think I think that's really important. I think we need that. I think, you know, the best way to get forward is to be able to learn from everybody else.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So
totally.
That's really important. And does all of this creep over into your music? I'm guessing massively.
Yeah, the spirit especially. I don't write music because I'm against something. Put it that way.
You're not an anarchist.
Music.
Yeah.
It's not that I'm against stuff, because I don't really believe that gets you anywhere. I think when you stand for something, people latch onto you a lot more. So I'm not fighting against the difficulties, or I'm not fighting against the unfairness that we've maybe just spoke about, but I am kind of I feel like I'm kind of representing, or trying to represent, in the same sense as maybe what all those other working class bands and acts would do, that like at the bottom line of it, like music for us, or music for people with nothing, is very, very important and always has been. And you look at the past and the tough times, out of the tough times, there's always stuff that comes out of the lower levels of this country that's amazing, creatively.
Do you feel we're in a good time for all of this at the moment? I mean, we had the Raytons get to #1. We've had, we're seeing some independent bands managing to break through. The Lottery Winners got a #1 album the other week, which, it should have been Jessie Ware that week. Sorry, Jessie, but it didn't happen. Given the money that was behind one compared to the other, do you think there's a great opportunity at the moment?
There is an opportunity. There's a very good, by all means, the way that we communicate our art or communicate our music nowadays is that's my cat, by the way.
Hi, cat.
It's not a tiger. Sounds like a tiger. It's a cat. But like the way that the opportunity that we have as a platform because of social media is great. But the bottleneck of it is it's completely diluted, and it's the same with, say, like Spotify. The way I think about Spotify now is it's kind of like what MySpace used to be like, or SoundCloud was a few years ago, where it's genuinely a marketing tool now. It's like, I was a little bit apprehensive about putting up stuff on Spotify until I felt like everything was ready. And it was only once I realized that I did it, I was like, oh no, this is the marketing tool. Like, I got to use this as the medium to keep going until, and for other people to notice it because it's on Spotify. So I think I've got no idea where I'm going with that.
I
What was
know,
the
I
question
totally
again?
understand what you mean. I mean, this goes out onto Spotify. I put this across
Yeah.
lots of different platforms. It goes out live. We're live now over several platforms, but
Yeah.
at the same time, it ends up on Spotify and Apple Music and all of the rest
Yeah.
of them, because you know you've got to have these places where people can go and find it. But to get people to find the stuff on those
Yes.
platforms, which are super saturated, that's what you're saying.
Yes, that's it. So,
That's the hard bit. The distribution
hard,
bit's easy. The
yeah.
distribution bit's easy.
So the hardest bit is creating genuine connection between you and a group of people, and that takes time. But I think what's good about that, right, is you do have to write better, and you do have to stand out. You got to be good. And I think that's what's going to happen next. And I think, like, going back to the question of, like, do you think we're in a time where I think there's lots of stuff going to come. I think right now we're probably in the flux of everybody who sat writing music in lockdown and is now releasing it. So it's completely blocked. Like the radio paths are blocked. The PR paths are blocked. Like every bottleneck is completely stuffed because everyone's
hungry for having had nothing for 2 years.
Yeah, had nothing for 2 years. That everyone's out working, everyone's touring, so there's definitely a kind of blockage at the moment. So but I definitely think in the next maybe year to 2 to 3 years, something else is gonna. There's an undercurrent somewhere where something's going to break out and everyone's going to kind of follow it. I think that's where I kind of feel like it is at the moment.
I think there's a few things that help potentially artists unblock that channel. I think for all the negative things you might say about them, I do think that the BBC introducing thing is brilliant, because I think that's giving an opportunity. It's giving an opportunity to say that artist over there you need to pay some attention to from a credible source, which then turns the eyes onto them.
I agree.
I think the fact that I think this is the first year where we're seeing all the festivals fully opened again. I think the fact that there are now so many festivals, I think the festival scene is part of that as well. Because for me, festivals have always been a magical place where, in amongst this crowd of headline bands and whatever,
you find things.
Somebody can step up and show that they've got the metal, and then that's it. That can be it for them.
I agree. Yeah, definitely. And I think what that's I think that's very true. Like as a kid going to see, like, it was amazing going to see acts that nobody else knew about, and there was only there's only 500 people in a tent at a whole festival, and you're like, wow.
Ooh.
Like, it's there's the dog.
You see.
And I think like I seen the Strokes at T in the Park in Scotland in 2001, and it was their first UK festival, and I think Shed 7 got pulled or had to pull out, so Strokes got bumped up to opening the main stage out of absolutely nowhere, and it was the first time anybody had seen, like, the only way you could hear them was on the radio. There was no such thing as social media or anything, right? So you'd only seen pictures of them in NME, like on the front cover of NME, and it was all very recent, and it was like, this is the most important thing in the world right now, basically. And it's like, you looked at them and you were like, they look like aliens, like they look like they've come from a different planet, especially culturally at that point, it was all Star Sailor, Coldplay, Turin Breaks, Travis, and then all of a sudden this juggernaut kind of shows up, and you look at them and you're like, and I'm a young teenager at that point, and I'm with my dad at the festival, and it's like, whoa, look at them. And suddenly
and the main thing about them when that cut through was the looseness of it, the looseness of the sound compared with everything else that was out there, as you say at the time.
So different. Yeah,
the likes of Coldplay and whatever, and they're not knocking Coldplay, but
I love them.
Coldplay's music is incredibly tight. The Strokes was all about it had that kind of sort of almost 1960s feel in a way, that it was kind of even the vocal lines just kind of drifted. It didn't. It wasn't. It wasn't on point. It was brilliant.
They're my number one, I think, because they were going back to what I said about Oasis. I was always looking back and reliving all of that because I wasn't there. But that was the band that kind of came along and hit me square in the face as a kind of this is my band. Like, this is, so they were probably the ones that drifted me into a space of, and I'd left school by that point, and I was like, yes, let's do this.
And a very innovative band as well, which is always really quite important. Maybe even more so than Oasis. Yeah, look, we've had everything. Everything in this interview so far. We've had cats, we've had dogs, we've now got someone coming in. Come on in. Bring a cup of tea for Nicky. I'll have a. There you go. You see, look at that. That was brilliant, wasn't it?
Magic. Thank you.
Just like that, Nicky actually lives the privileged life. He has waiters coming in,
But someone doing the hoovering.
Yeah, he wishes.
All the money I make off Spotify.
Yeah, right. All 26p of it last month. Yeah. Tell us a bit about Bullseye.
Bullseye was written. It was written quite recently, actually, and we were in the studio. So I go in with a guy called Scotty Anderson, and he helps produce, and it's usually just the two of us. He's an absolute wizard, and he works closely with the Snuts, the Scottish band, the Snuts. He just produced their latest single, actually, but he helps a lot with their live show and all of that. So the guy's an all-round clever clogs, really, and he's just really good at what he does. And we've kind of built up this working relationship that works quite well, yin and yang a little bit. It's hard to put your finger on it, but it works. And so we were in the studio, and we had done a song, and we finished the song, and I think we had about 3 hours left of the session or whatever. And he was like, "Let's just try something new." So I had the one line, the birthmark of the chorus bit, the birthmark of a believer. So I was singing that, and then I think he just started putting down some bass lines, etc. And then it kind of wrote itself backwards rather than starting with the verse.
I love that.
And
such a good chorus, so catchy.
Yeah, it was just a little thing. I think I wrote it in the car on the way to the studio in the morning, and Did you actually know
in your head what you meant by that, or did you just like the way it sounded?
No, I knew what I meant. I think my thought process behind it was that we actually live in a world that obviously it's been a bit messy over the last few years, politically, socially, whatever. And I was kind of thinking about the process of, like, if you believe in anything, like if you've got a belief in anything, if you stand for anything, you've got a bullseye on your back, because there's a group of people who don't stand for it and are out to get you, basically. So we're now living in a world where people are scared to stand up for stuff or say stuff, because it's like, well, I better not, because then that means that I might lose things if I stand up for things or say things, or I might be attacked or persecuted or whatever. So that was the theory behind it.
And actually, just to add sort of credence to what you're saying there.
Yeah.
I work across all kind of social media platforms, and some people listening to this go, "Oh, yeah, no, but I say what I want all the time, etc." But believe me, people don't, right?
No, don't.
Because and in a way, the more a platform is dedicated towards voice and people actually saying something, as opposed to, you know, sharing pictures of their dog dancing or whatever. Yeah. Sorry, dog, but you're not doing that today. Then the less people actually do that. So one of the platforms, this, and it's going out on this now, one of the platforms that I work on is LinkedIn, which you could potentially see as a business platform. And of course, you know, people are very worried about opinion on there. About 67% of people who are actually on that platform never post, never ever post. Yeah, that's unbelievable. Yeah, you know, you've got millions of people on the platform.
We all sit on a fence, really.
Over half of them are just looking at what other people are saying, thinking about that, yeah, liking it or not liking it, but never want to actually say anything. Because, yeah. So you're absolutely right. You know,
I think as well, like, the notion behind it was, like, it doesn't have to be that way. Like, I think I'm a great believer that I could sit down and have a discussion with somebody in a very orderly, normal manner without me having any judgment, hate, or agenda towards the other person, and accept that we don't think the same way about one particular thing, and still love them, and still be okay with them. And I don't think the world knows how to do that. So that was kind of the idea, was like,
yeah,
imagine if we were able to just like sit down at a table and talk, everything would be all right, like, all the time, because it's the only way you deal with yourself, is by sitting down and having a word with yourself. So your relationship with yourself, it's the only way that you could do it through therapy, is talking. It's the only way weight's lifted. It's the only way that you have an argument with your partner or your wife or husband or mum or dad, is sitting down talking. So when it comes to like society, it's just like throwing flares at each other all the time, and it just
totally agree in all of that. The mainstay of the work that I do with during the day, yeah, is this. But I do this with clients as well, and the reason I do this with clients is I say that ultimately we live in a world now where anybody can write content for you. ChatGPT can write content for you. We don't really know what anybody's authentic voice is.
Self is.
Okay. Yeah. But if we come into a space with different people, maybe with people that have a different opinion from us on the subject as well, and we come with one rule only, which is that as much as we talk, we listen.
Yeah.
And we must be prepared to listen, and when we listen, to then consider our own viewpoint and whether we're right or wrong. Yeah. Then I think through that discussion we get closer to a truth. I don't think we ever find truths.
Yeah.
I think we get closer to truths which help us all. But I think, yeah, there's a lot of, I see out there at the moment across social media, there's a lot of rhetoric. There's a lot of people putting their own opinion out there.
Yeah.
And not prepared to listen to anybody else. It's like, and you either follow like a sheep or you don't. But I do see a future. I think one of the things we need to do, and I want more people to do it. I want more people to copy me as well. I want more people to create spaces where we talk and we learn from each other, because I think that's powerful.
It's very powerful, and I think we got to understand we're molded by our own society as well. It's not, we often think things are free thinking, but they're established through many different things, like education or upbringing or whatever. And you're never gonna, I like anything I think about or believe in or go, right, this is my truth, or this is where I feel like this is how I make sense of the world, or this is what I think's right. I'm always wanting to be put up to the challenge of going against what I'm thinking, just to actually either make me go, oh well, maybe I need to change my mind on that, or to actually go, nah, you've just confirmed that I feel like I'm right about this based on why you're pitching against me or whatever. Like I enjoy listening to stuff and podcasts, and it works because it's like you're constantly molding your worldview, because everybody has a worldview, like, and that's the problem. And I think what happens now is minorities become smaller, but they also become louder because everybody else shuts up. So you're left to your own, like, they fly away into their own world. And I think and then the world appeases every single minority about absolutely every single thing and creates massive discourse or whatever. And I think that happens politically, religiously, socially, and it's created all these facets of the world where nobody can sit down and talk to each other about anything now, apart from maybe the academics on podcasts, because even on a news level, it doesn't happen. And it's quite scary, to be honest, because you've got a whole world of free thinkers with no counter argument.
We may have become, dare I say it, too politically correct.
Massively. Yeah.
To the point where, you know, you can't say anything for offending somebody.
No, you can't.
But as you say, it's not about what you say; it's about how you say it.
Yeah, it's about the intention of the offence.
Yeah,
but we've lost that as well. Like, completely lost that. It's actually insane. It's insane. Like, someone says something, they've got no idea they've said it, and it's like, now they're this, and it's like the guys in, like, the intention was never that, you know. It's very it's so black and white when it's not. It's grey.
I love the fact you're thinking about this stuff, Nicky, and I think it's really important. I think it's important that we have pop artists, because your music's pop, right? It's nice.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's important that we have pop artists that are, you know, thinking about this stuff and intelligent enough to actually bring this kind of conversation to the table for getting other people to think about it, because that's how you make your revolution. That's how you make your change, is through getting youngsters to actually think about this rather than.
Yeah, I want like I've got two little girls of my own, and I want them to think for themselves. I don't want them to think about what I feel like I've expressed to them. I want them to challenge me. Why do we believe in this? That why did we? What's this mean? Or I want that. Like, it's a very different world they live in compared to the one I lived in, and it feels very alien.
Well, let's just say, I mean, Bullseye, I think, is a fantastic song. If anybody hasn't checked it out yet, you need to go and check it out. And there's a few other things that I just want to say in there as well.
Yeah,
one is the video is fantastic, because Nicky brings back dad dancing, which is great, because for anybody that, you know, follows all of these other trends on TikTok or whatever, where, you know, I can't do any of that sort of daft dancing. I think I could probably just about manage what Nicky achieves in the video, and I think that's great, because that's real for all of us. Secondly, I think it will be at some point when you do get the merch, a bullseye on the back of a t-shirt. That's brilliant. You know, that's an absolute winner. And I'm just wondering whether you've had the telephone call yet from any world championship darts player to say, yeah, I want this as my entry music, because that
would be amazing, isn't it?
Wouldn't that be great?
That would be class. That would be absolutely class.
There's actually a lady that I'm connected to on Twitter who does the presenting for the world championships for darts. So we should try and get her tagged in and get her involved, and let's see if we can get somebody out there that's going to take the song as the chorus, as their walkout song. That would be unbelievable. That would be great, wouldn't it? Yeah. I'd love every time they walk out, Nicky's song.
Boom. Brilliant.
Boom. That would be great. You see, we could make all of these things happen. I'm definitely going to tag them in, make that happen.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming on today.
No worries.
2023, the rest of 2023, more music from you. What else? Are you doing any gigs?
So the plan is I've got another track called Take Care, which comes out at the end of this month, which kind of completes the whole EP. The EP is called Firsts, being the first kind of offering that I'm going to give to the world of doing Nicky Lipp stuff. And then after that, come September, I've got a few shows. Like I have a headline Edinburgh show in September.
Fantastic.
Which is announced. And just going to keep going and keep releasing and keep pitching away and enjoying life.
You do it. That's what we like to hear, folks. This has been Nicky Lipp. If you've enjoyed this, do share it among your friends. Not because of me, because I'm old and ugly, but for Nicky and all of the other musicians that come on the show. They do value your support. Without you, they can't carry on doing it. You know, and do pay them some money if you can. Just send them a cup of coffee. You know. Not literally in the post, maybe just the money for it, because it gets a bit messy otherwise. or actually download their music when you can. But most of all, and most importantly, if you do like their music, tell them, because that means a lot. You know, they really appreciate it if you actually tell a musician that what they've done is changing your life or has had an impact in your life, because you know that's what they want to hear. Until next time, this has been My Music with Nicky Lipp and myself, Graham Cave. Hope you have a lovely day, whatever you're doing. Look after yourselves and listen to some proper music. Bye for now.